friends, it's Valerie. Welcome back to another week's What's for Dinner. If you're new here, welcome. I'd love if you would hit that subscribe button to join my YouTube family. I put out What's for Dinner videos every week, and this week I have 3 inspirational meals for you again, and this is going to be like a fall edition meals. I don't really know what fall means. Of course, you can make these any time of the year, but they do make your home smell really nice, which is what I love in fall. It's cooler outside, so having the oven on doesn't really bother me. Yeah, but I've got a slow cooked like boneless short rib recipe, and let's see what else, a beef and broccoli like sweet potato recipe, as well as a pasta that included some yellow squash. So I hope that you enjoy all of these, and let's get started. This first recipe is some baked boneless beef short ribs. I'm starting off by dicing up the onion that I'm going to need for the sauce for this meal. And the recipe calls for about half a cup. I'm just cutting up a small onion and I'm going to go ahead and use that. Next, I'm placing 2 cups of ketchup into a medium saucepan over medium heat. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in 3/4 cup of barbecue sauce, and I'm using Sweet Baby Ray's as well as another barbecue sauce that I had. I was just like a couple tablespoons short of that, so I think I show you that the brands that I use in just a moment here. I'm also going to go ahead and add in those diced onions to this barbecue sauce mixture. Next, I'm going to be adding in 2/3 cup of brown sugar. The recipe calls from anywhere from 1/2 to 2/3 cup. I do like things on the sweeter side, and I don't feel that these were very sweet at all, so I do feel that 2/3 cup was perfect. Then I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 tablespoons of liquid smoke to that. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and I'm going to go ahead and mix all this sauce until it's all combined well. And you're going to cook that until it's nice and thick and bubbly, making sure to stir occasionally for about 10 minutes. Next, I'm just taking my 9x13 baking dish, and I'm going to go ahead and place my boneless beef short ribs in there. The recipe calls for 4 pounds. I have about 2 3/4, maybe close to 3 pounds of the short ribs. That's just what I had, so I didn't adjust the sauce accordingly. I just used the amount of sauce that it asked for. I actually probably could have halved the sauce recipe, but I wanted to make sure I had enough. So just so you know, you probably could half it if you're using in the 2 to 3 pound range of beef. So I just went ahead and took a paper towel, and I went ahead and kind of removed any excess moisture on those. Now I'm just seasoning both sides with some salt and pepper, and then you're going to go ahead and spoon some of your sauce on top of that. It's about 1/2 cup that I'm spooning over the beef, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of spread that out. And then I'm going to go ahead and just use my tongs to go ahead and flip those short ribs over and add another about 1/2 cup of barbecue sauce on top of that. And I'm also, I believe, using just my like basting brush to kind of spread it out. And you're going to go ahead and want to reserve maybe about another 1/2 cup of that sauce or less, just to baste some more on the short ribs about halfway through the baking process. Next, I'm just going to go ahead and place some foil over the top of that baking dish, and I'm going to bake these at 300 degrees for about 2.5 hours. And then after that 2.5 hours is up, you're going to remove them from the oven and go ahead and remove that foil, and then use your tongs to go ahead and flip over your boneless ribs, and then go ahead and based on the reserved barbecue sauce. And then you're going to place them back in the oven for an additional 30 minutes uncovered. And yeah, I believe I also may have broiled in the end for just a couple minutes, just to make sure that the tops got a little bit more caramelized. And you can also check these sooner to make sure that you're not overcooking them if your oven runs hot. And just make sure they're at least to an internal temperature of your liking, maybe about 150 degrees. And this recipe also says that you can do something with the cooking liquid after to make it thicker. I chose to just leave it how it is. And next, I just based my side dishes off of like when this short ribs were going to be almost out of the oven, like how much time I needed. So I wanted some air fryer green beans and some potatoes. So I'm just cleaning a pound of green beans, and I'm going to go ahead and just put some olive oil on those and season them with some salt, pepper, some ranch powder, and some garlic powder, and then just give those all a good toss and air fry them at 400 degrees for about 6 to 10 minutes, just depending how crunchy you like your green beans. And for the potatoes, I will just leave a little like link to a video I've made them in. I've made them many times, so I don't want to show you guys that too many times. But these ribs were really, really delicious. I love the boneless part of it all. The liquid smoke really added so much flavor. So I really think if you like something like this, you should give that a try. Really good. This next meal is some Hoisin turkey and broccoli stuffed sweet potatoes. I'm starting off by cutting some broccoli heads into some small florets. I'm cutting about 3 small broccoli heads here. I didn't really measure it out. It's about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of broccoli. This recipe actually calls for 3/4 cup, but I'm actually doubling the whole recipe itself. So yeah, I've got about 1.5 cups to 2 cups. And now I'm just prepping my sweet potatoes that I've cleaned. This is 2 large sweet potatoes, and I'm just going to be piercing them with a fork. And then I'm going to go ahead and cover them with some olive oil, and then I will just be putting them in the microwave. I went ahead and microwaved those for about 4 to 5 minutes, and then I flipped them to the other side, and I put them in there for an additional 4 to 5 minutes. And while those sweet potatoes are cooking, I'm just going to go ahead and grate my ginger. I'm just using this small grater that I have, and I'm using ginger that is frozen. And you're going to need about 4 teaspoons of that grated ginger. And now I'm adding about a tablespoon of canola oil over medium high heat, and I'm going to go ahead and add that ginger in and cook it for about a minute. And now to my skillet, I'm going to go ahead and add in 1 pound of ground turkey, and I'm just using my meat chopping tool to break that apart and mix that ginger in with the meat. And then you're just going to go ahead and let that brown and cook up until there's no longer any pink left, and just stir occasionally. And once your potatoes are done and they've cooled for a moment, I'm just going to go ahead and cut those in half, and you're going to go ahead and just scoop out the flesh of the inside of the sweet potato. I tried using tongs. It was not any easier, so I just used my hands. Only use your hands, of course, if it's not going to burn you. And yeah, just scoop out the insides of all of your sweet potatoes, and go ahead and set those skins aside because you will be using them. Next, I am just using my potato masher to remove all the clumps from the sweet potato flesh, and I believe also after I took all the major chunks out, I might have used a spoon or a fork to make it even smoother. And now I'm going to go ahead and add in this Chinese 5-spice powder, and I'm adding in a 1/8 teaspoon, actually I believe that's a 1/4 teaspoon of that, because I'm doubling this recipe. And just go ahead and make sure to mix that all together until it's well combined. And the recipe says to put this mixture back into the potato skins at this point, but I chose to wait in case it cooled down too much. I wanted to be able to warm that back up. So next to your ground turkey, you're going to go ahead and add in another 1/4 teaspoon of the 5-spice powder, and then just mix that all in with the meat so it's evenly distributed. So next, for the broccoli part of this recipe, it tells you to go ahead and heat the oil and add your broccoli in. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like the consistency right away, if it would be soft enough or tender enough for my liking without being too brown, so I went ahead and microwaved that with a couple tablespoons of water in a plate for about 4 minutes to make it tender, and then I went ahead and added in a teaspoon of oil to my pan, and then added in that broccoli that was now softer, and just let it brown up a little bit. Next, you're going to go ahead and add your ground turkey back into the skillet with the broccoli and give it a good stir and make sure that it heats back up if your turkey got any cooler. And now you're going to add in your sauce. So this part I actually messed up on the recipe. It came out very good despite the fact that I messed up. There's a step to make a sauce in here with this hoisin sauce and sesame oil and soy sauce, and I just put hoisin sauce and forgot all the rest of that. But it came out very good, so I didn't mind that I missed the steps. But if I made this again, I would like to add those to give it a try, especially because I really, really love sesame oil. But if you make the sauce in the recipe, or if you're just wanting to use hoisin sauce like I did, I added in about a 1/3 cup of hoisin sauce, maybe a little extra because I felt like I needed more. And I was right, because it needed more because I didn't add in the things that would have been added into the hoisin sauce, like the soy sauce and the chili sauce and whatnot. So yeah, just either do it correctly or it still comes out great my way, so I don't mind it. And at this point, I did go ahead and reheat my sweet potato mixture. Not very much. It probably just needed about 30 seconds, 30 to 40 seconds, just to get warmed back up again. And I'm just giving that a stir again and placing it into the skins of my potato and spreading that out. And then you're just going to go ahead and top that all with your hoisin beef and turkey mixture, and this was really, really tasty. I don't normally have sweet potatoes too often. I kind of just forget about them, but they were a nice addition to dinner, something different with lots of flavor still, and we really, really enjoyed this. It still felt like nice and light and healthy, but it still had lots of flavor. This last meal is a cheesy chicken and squash pasta. I'm kind of just making this one up as I go. Starting off with about a pound or a large crookneck yellow squash, and I'm cutting that in half, and then in half again lengthwise, and then into just some moon-shaped thinner pieces so that they can saute up and cook through quickly. Next, I'm just taking my large skillet over medium to medium-high heat, and I'm adding in 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and then I'm going to go ahead and add in my chopped up yellow squash and let that begin to saute. Once that has sauteed a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and season that with a 1/2 teaspoon each of salt and pepper, as well as maybe about another 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder and some Italian seasoning, as well as a little bit of dried basil. If you have fresh basil, that would be very delicious in this as well. And then just go ahead and give that all a good stir to get those seasonings kind of spread out throughout all those pieces of squash. And then once my squash was about 3/4 of the way done, I went ahead and added in some chopped up onion that I had. Not too much. I had just some leftover chopped up onion. You can maybe add about 1/4 to 1/2 cup depending on your liking of onion, and just go ahead and mix that all in. And now I'm going to go ahead and add in a can of yellow corn, and you can like lower your amounts. I believe I started off with about half to 3/4 of the can, and I kind of wanted to make sure the corn wasn't going to overpower this dish. But in the end, I did end up adding the whole can, and we liked it that way. I'm also going to go ahead and add in some diced tomatoes, and these are the ones from Aldi that are like basil, herb, like oregano, garlic flavored tomatoes. They're really good. They add a lot of flavor to dishes like this, and they really complement this dish well. So I just went ahead and gave that all a good stir, and then I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 cups of chicken broth because I'm going to be cooking my pasta in the dish like this. You can cook it on the side, but this gives the pasta extra flavor. So I'm going to add in 8 ounces of penne and just press that down into the liquid. You want to make sure that it's covered with the liquid as best you can, or else the tops of your noodles that are sticking out are going to kind of be dry while the rest of it is cooked. And then just go ahead and add the lid onto your pan once you bring that to a boil, and then you're going to reduce your heat to a medium low and let that cook for about 20 to 25 minutes. Next, I'm just taking my skillet and I'm testing this out on my new induction single burner, and I'm placing some olive oil in the bottom there and 1 very large chicken breast that I went ahead and pounded out to be thinner. And I'm just going to go ahead and season that how I seasoned the other side, which was with some salt, some pepper, some Tony Chachere's seasoning, and some garlic powder, as well as some paprika. And you're just going to go ahead and let that cook for about 5 minutes, and then go ahead and flip that over and cook it for an additional 5 minutes. This was new to me. I'm just testing out how to use my induction burner. I did burn a lot of seasonings on, as you can see there. If you guys want a video on how to clean your pans when you do something like that, I can make a video on that as well. And now my pasta is done, so I'm going to go ahead and add in some cheese. I'm adding in about a cup of mozzarella cheese, and then just going ahead and giving that all a good stir. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in that cooked chicken breast I cut up into some little diced up cubes, and just stir that into the pasta. If it's not warmed, to go ahead and rewarm that back up with the pasta. And I'm just adding in a little bit of extra red pepper flakes there. And this was the dish. I served it with some bread and butter. It was really, really tasty. We really enjoyed this meal. I love squash and zucchinis and things like that, and I love that the flavor that this dish had. Thanks so much for watching, friends. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future What's for Dinner videos. I hope you all have an amazing week.